Hello and welcome to another video. It has been a while, hasn't it? I wanted to make this video because I found a bunch of artworks I made many years ago and I thought they were lost. They were in a hard drive that got wrecked and I couldn't salvage anything. But for some reason, I was able to extract the images a few days ago, so I put them in another folder and I thought it would be a good time to take a look because some of these images, some of these illustrations are actually quite interesting, and I thought, hey, it would be nice to go down memory lane and take a look at some of the older stuff I did and maybe die inside a little. Okay, so let's go. All right, so this illustration right here, this first one, it's an illustration of Aang from Avatar, and obviously going for a magazine cover type style. And I can actually remember when I did this. I had just gotten to this city. I remember I was making videos back then just for myself because I always enjoyed making videos, but it was very hard times, and I can remember specifically that I was working on this piece when my first ever laptop tablet PC I bought for myself broke down completely. So this piece will always have that place in my heart. I actually think it looks pretty decent for what it is. I mean, as per usual, you know, anatomically there are some things that I could definitely fix now that I used to have issues with. A big one being the nose, and you can see here I have written Aang on the struggles of being the Avatar and his relationship with Katara. I thought I was so smart. So there are some headlines here: the Avatar and his never-ending fight in unifying the four nations, and Aang says his relationship with Katara is fine. Cabbage merchants to receive 4 million yuan for compensatory damage. I used to be funny, I'm not sure what happened. I could obviously do better now, I would hope. Let's move on to the next one. This is a very nice one. This piece is called Dart Cersei. It was me trying to paint Cersei Lannister and portray her as a Darth, which was interesting because I think this was around the time the new Star Wars came out, and obviously Game of Thrones was in my mind. And I remember this specifically because I know nothing about Star Wars, absolutely nothing. I actually haven't watched Star Wars, but I did like Game of Thrones. This was a while ago because I still had the inclination to do a fan art of a character from Game of Thrones, something that I wouldn't do nowadays because of, you know, the final few seasons. it was rough, especially Cersei, who sat there for 3 seasons doing absolutely nothing. Some of the facial proportions are a bit off, but I really like how I tackled the face. Lighting a character from the front in a profile isn't something that I do often. So I think for what it is, it didn't turn out that bad. Okay, so this piece is really cool. I really enjoyed this one. This was at a time when I was starting to carve an identity for myself. I didn't know what I wanted to paint because I got into illustration through mostly fantasy stuff, Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, you know, the usual. I realized that why I enjoyed looking at those images, I didn't necessarily want to draw them, or if I wanted to draw them, there was something missing. And I found out what was missing for me was actually storytelling. I really enjoy telling stories, which is why I gravitated towards making videos. This was me attempting to do that. So we have this scene, you know, it's all foggy, and we've got this character here crying. You know, I tried my best to do some storytelling, though it's kind of on the nose. You know, he's got fangs, he's got blood on his hands, he's got blood on his mouth. The idea was that the character had turned into a werewolf at night and had wrecked the village. That was what I was going for. And I think it turned out really nice. This is one of those illustrations where I don't know if I would be able to do right now. Or, I mean, I sure hope I would be able to execute it. But just idea-wise, I feel like I was a lot more inventive and I came up with ideas a lot easier, years ago. And now I find it more difficult. It's kind of weird having that problem, right? Before, you had a lot of ideas but little skill. Now you have more skill but little ideas. So I really love how this came out. Execution-wise, as per usual, his face is all kinds of messed up, especially the mouth. The mouth doesn't have the correct perspective. But what are you gonna do? Let's see what else we have here. Yes, this one. This was particularly interesting and challenging because this I didn't paint in Photoshop. I actually painted this in I think it's covered paint. It's probably covered paint, isn't it? At this time, I was really enjoying looking at a lot of Renaissance paintings and really wanted my digital work to look more like oils. It was something that I was really interested in at the time. As per usual, the perspective is messed up. My horizon line is not correct, but I'm not here to be too harsh on myself. What I will say is that there are a couple of things that I wish I still did. Like, going through your old paintings is actually a very good thing. You'll be surprised how many times, how often I keep reinventing the wheel. I'll keep relearning things that I already knew but forgot I learned it and then have to learn it again. It's very odd. Like in this case, if you can see up here, you can see that I'm using saturation to separate the character from the background while still keeping the values close together. It's something that is very effective at creating separation, at creating contrast without using values. And I sometimes forget that that's something that you can do. Ooh, this one was a doozy. I'm actually quite impressed for a couple of reasons. This is what I mean when I said that I can't make pieces like this anymore. It's not that I can't make them, it's just that I lack the confidence. Like, look at this. This is an entire illustration. Again, still trying to have that oil painting vibe. Also still trying to tell a little bit of a story. Again, I was trying to get away from the usual trend in fantasy art of just having a character posing with a weapon. I've got better technique than this, I think, but the ideas, the confidence to paint a scene with 6 characters in it is something that I would pause at doing right now. This one, I had completely forgotten I did this. It's crazy. In this scene, we've got what are child soldiers going into, working in some forest. I liked the idea of juxtaposing grenade launchers and guns, with some things you might consider childish or childlike, like a Pikachu plush and a Nintendo, a Game Boy Advanced, I think? No, a Game Boy Color. Oh yes, of course it's a Game Boy Color. I had one. I grew up very poor. I actually didn't have consoles. But during the end of the Nintendo DS era in the mid-2000s, a classmate of mine, as a farewell gift, gave me an old Game Boy Color, and I loved that thing. He gave it to me with one game, the Pokemon Silver, I think, and it was very nice because at this time we didn't have a home, and the only thing I had for entertainment was this Game Boy. And I remember I would go around looking for money to get 55 cents so I could go buy the cheapest battery I could find at the store, and I would buy those AA batteries, and they wouldn't even last 24 hours. And the goal was to get those batteries and play Pokemon on all day and all night until the batteries run out, which would happen at around 4 or 5 a.m. So I would stay up all night playing and trying to see how far I could get before the batteries run out, which is kind of funny because now that I think about it, I was basically speed running without knowing what speed running was, which is a very funny concept. Wow, now this piece, like, look at this. Look at how bold I was. I'm like, yes, why not paint an entire army marching through the countryside? Why not? Of course I'm going to paint an entire army marching through the countryside. Well, nowadays I'm like, oof, 2 people in a scene, can I do that? It's kind of funny how when you don't know the limits of your own abilities, you just do anything. It's impressive, really. I really love the design of certain aspects of this piece. Like, you can see I've got this character here wearing this suspender that I saw from like an old Norman Rockwell painting. I had this kid over here on the right side, and he's got a slingshot in his pocket that you can barely see, and he's got a helmet as well. I tried to make the helmet look humongous. I don't think I succeeded here in the storytelling, but I was going for the fact that this is obviously not his helmet. It's one of his parents, has the helmet, and they probably are at war and are not around, and they're waiting for their parents to come back. I actually found the color version of the illustration. It's the same illustration, but I added in like a blue wash, and I think it does a really good job of separating the foreground from the background elements. I actually wish I could have done a better job about when it comes to the dragon. Dragons are something that I've gotten a lot better at painting. As pieces go, I think it was a very bold piece. Oh, I remember this one. What happened here? There's a really cool story here. So I remember Johannes Voss, Algenfleger. I don't know how to say his nickname, but Johannes Voss is a very cool artist, a German artist. You can see a lot of his work in Magic the Gathering and a lot of other things, but he's mostly known for his Magic the Gathering artwork. He created a forum for artists called Permanoobs, and they would host like arts competitions there, and I decided to participate in one, and I can't remember what the prompt was, but I ended up doing this piece having a character sitting by a tree threatening someone in the foreground. You can see there are some hands down here, and having some dead children hanged from the tree. This was so dark. I'm not sure what I was thinking. To be fair, I do tend to draw a lot of dark things, so I guess it's in my wheelhouse. And I was, and I think I still am pretty proud of how it turned out, mainly because of the saturation and the very cool piece with this very muted palette. I really liked how that turned out. I also like how I did the sheen on the dagger. I feel like I could have done a better job in some places, but on it all, I remember being pretty excited about the final piece that I did. And the thing about the art competition was that people were going to critique your pieces if you enter it, and I think it's still somewhere on YouTube, but Johannes and this other guy were critiquing the pieces, and they were praising everyone who submitted their piece, and then they got to mine, and they ripped it to shreds. Completely, utterly, like, decimated it. I remember feeling so hot that day. I can't remember. Not Johannes himself. Johannes, I think, was pretty much silent at the time. Didn't really comment much as far as I remember. I haven't seen this since. But I remember he didn't really comment much. But the other guy really went to town and ripped me a new one. It was very distressing. To be fair, there were a lot of issues with the piece, but I remember at the time just my feeling like my dreams got crushed because I tried so hard to create this piece. And, you know, I like it. Execution wise, there is a lot that could be done, especially with the tree. I know I was trying to go for a deformed, twisted tree, but I've painted enough trees now to know how to do that better. But as far as the character goes and the idea, I still like it. I know that they didn't seem to like it very much, but you know, they can't all be winners, I guess. Anyway, I think that's the last illustration in the folder. It was nice getting a look at a lot of my older work because it's not something that I really do, especially not anymore. And now that DeviantArt is not a place people frequent anymore, and ArtStation has had a mass exodus because of the AI issues, but not only because of that. ArtStation was never really a place that really appealed to me. It was kind of there by default after CG Hub went under. And it's unfortunate because there is no central hub where I post all my work anymore. There is no place where I have everything compiled where I can just scroll back in time and start to see a lot of my previous work by year. There are a lot of my work that I have done for the last 2 years that I haven't really posted anywhere. I don't post them online. I don't really do anything with them. If they're for a client, they're for a client and no one else sees them. And if they're for myself and nobody else sees them. And I think that's something that I really need to fix. I guess that ties to the end of the video. I'm going to try to be making more videos more frequently this year. I've been trying to take care of my mental health and my anxiety issues, which made making videos very, very difficult. But I think I am in a place where I can mostly make videos again, which is really exciting because that means that I can finally do the thing that I really enjoy, which is making illustrations and making videos about them. I've also been doing a lot of traditional work, a lot of work in ink and color inks, and I can't wait to share my process. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one. Bye.